Welcome back to the Dynasty Grind. My name's Peter Howard at PA Howdy on Twitter. Yeah, and Threads and everywhere else. We do a live stream every Wednesday at 9:30 till we get tired, bored, or run out of questions about Dynasty fantasy football in general. Drop whatever comment, question, or thought you have about those subjects, preferably in the little boxes on whatever streaming platform you're watching this on, because we go out to several. Yeah, that's about it. I think that's all I can think to say. So welcome back. Hope you got some questions or thoughts or comments or just want to chat about fantasy football in general. And let's go see who we got behind the old curtain today. Hey, how'd your week go?
Well, in real life, it was busy as shit. Fantasy football, I hated this week because I feel like it was low scoring mostly across the board, unless, I mean, if you have Devon Achane on your team, you're always scoring pretty well. But, like, scores were low across the board, but I still, won where I was supposed to and lost where I was supposed to. The scores were just, it was a little lower. And then in Scott Fishbowl, my score was low, but people were still scoring a lot.
No, I got a lot of teams that are pretty good and not winning. It's hard to figure out. And in some of my leagues, the top of the charts, there's a lack of studs on them. I feels like that's what it is in 2023. The studs really aren't paying. Well, a few of them are. Christian McCaffrey, Kyron Williams, obviously the known stud. Yeah, been stud for years. Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, they're all popping off every week with 20 points plus. But then after that, you've got Jalen Waddle isn't helping you out too much. AJ Brown's been pretty good in that 1 or 2 weeks, but that's about it. You know what I mean? George Kittle's killing me.
I don't think I won a game this past week. I had my team in TA11 that has been the high score every single the first 3 weeks by quite a sight, got just obliterated. I don't think I won a game this week. It was not good.
But on the plus side in TA11, one of the 0-4 teams won a game, so I got one spot closer to the 101.
There you go. What games did you guys manage to watch this week? So I don't watch, and so it's nice to know which ones I can ask you about.
Well, I red zoned for the first half of Sunday of the first games on Sunday, and then had to go do some stuff. And then I rewatched the condensed version of the Dolphins game because I was mostly curious about Raheem Mostert. I went into the game why the hell did Mostert only get 7 carries? Because first I traded for Mostert right before the games. I traded for him on Friday, and then he goes 7 for 9 and 3 catches for 15 yards, though one of them was amazing. But also right before I started to watch, I'm like, all right, well, I know Achane went 101 and 2 touchdowns, but did he get 15 carries? He had 8. Yeah, it was just that they didn't run the ball. And
Jaleel McLaughlin, that reminds me of, because he had that great game as that waiver wire stash, but it was on 7 carries. And Samaje Perine got 6. It's okay. So it's not really
after Javonte got hurt. Yeah. But and then when I actually watch the game, almost every single one of Mostert's run went right up the middle. Now, don't get me wrong, Achane did too and broke good runs. So I'm not here to say one's good, one's bad. I have no idea how to evaluate anybody, no less running backs running up the middle, watching actual game footage, not all 22. Is that what it's called?
I understand the feelings. I saw it. Yeah, I just don't evaluate it. Yeah.
Just watching the game for watching the game. I'm not worried about Mostert, but that's why I watched that game, to see what the hell that was about. I keep needing to watch the Bengals game, but life just keeps saying, Russ, you don't have 40 minutes to sit and watch a condensed game.
Yeah, all right. Zach, any ones you caught in particular? I'm interested. Roschon Johnson seemed to get lose his side of the split this week. I didn't know if that was because of something that happened on the field or what.
I know I got a lot of red zone. Well, and Khalil Herbert was pretty good this week, so I think that's kind of how that's kind of how the Bears have been doing their thing. Is the hot hand, that football guy in their gut, and so if Khalil Herbert gets a couple of nice runs that are blocked well, the coach is like, oh yeah, that's definitely him. Let's go, and so that's kind of how they saddle up.
Sorry, I didn't mean to start this one off like a podcast, but like I wanted to know, so thought I'd ask.
Well, because Roschon is the more athletic, the pass catcher kind of thing, and when you've already scored 4 touchdowns, you don't need that. So you just if Khalil Herbert is playing well, you just leave him out there. That's
kind of what I'm thinking. Mr. Moore, hello. 12-team 1QB start 7 winless. Looking to sell Pollard. Best offer is 24 first and 25
second.
Second probably. Yeah, that doesn't seem like enough for Pollard.
That I would take that and run.
I don't think a competitive team's willing to give more than a very late first and a second.
Well, it didn't say what it was. They just said best offers a first and a second.
I assume he's trying to trade in someone that can use a running back.
Pollard's fair enough. But I mean, Pollard's not putting up 25 points a game like he was last year. That offense isn't putting up 25 points a game. So
a lot of touchdowns. I know that.
Getting a first and a second for a 25, almost 26-year-old running back is a win. Short, and by the way, whenever I say things like that, Christian McCaffrey does not apply. He is special. He doesn't count.
Yeah, he's different.
So, any running back at once they hit 26, even if we're talking Saquon, getting a first and second right now, if you want to get out on Saquon, is a great price to go do it at. So this is absolutely, take a first and a second for Pollard.
16 points per game, 12th in points per game, 7th overall in PPR points, first in weighted opportunity. Again, he's got 40% of the team's touches inside the 20-yard line. They just don't seem to be able to score touchdowns this year.
Yeah, and not to say that he's bad or is doing bad, but he's not doing what we...
No, I'll take it. You forget, I was out on him this offseason, so I'm happy to hear that rank 12 is weak.
I mean,
let's
he's
go.
Still running back, 6 or 7 in PPR? He's still
is he
putting up points. Yeah, I think he's scoring
16 points per game.
He didn't have much against the Patriots, but that's because their defense scored, and Mac Jones has the pocket awareness of a baked potato.
Running back 7 overall.
Yeah, running back 7
a game.
Never mind. I guess I take it back. He's doing better than I thought. Maybe running back scoring is just wow.
Oh, it is. It's a bit.
Okay, hold on. I pulled up Trade Addicts scoring. Yeah. So McCaffrey is averaging 30 points per game.
Yeah.
A-Chain 26.7, and that is with one game scoring 1.9.
I got 26.8, but sure. Austin Eckler, 26.4. Raheem Mostert is still at 22.4, apparently.
Yep.
Alvin Kamara in his one appearance, 21.4. Kyron Williams is at 20.4, and he's got I don't think I've seen someone with that larger share of the team's red zone opportunities. It's the only two players with more touches inside the 20-yard line are Christian McCaffrey and Tony Pollard.
Not even Montgomery.
I
feel like Montgomery's got to be close.
I can look.
There's no groups of scoring. It literally just it's like a slow decline because normally I guess we're only 4 weeks in, but usually it settles to a huge chunk of players. Here, there's 5 at 14 points per game. Usually it settles into something, and it hasn't done that at all. But
Montgomery's got 19 for reference, which is a lot. It's top 5 or something.
I was also not ready for Alvin Kamara to walk into 14 targets, by the way.
David Montgomery and Kenneth Walker are neck and neck with 19, and then it's who did I say? Kyron Williams with 24, Christian McCaffrey with 26, and Tony Pollard with 31. I don't know why we're talking about this, but I thought it was interesting. It seems low to me. I think Tony Pollard should have some more high-scoring games moving forward, so maybe try then. But Russ is right. If usually right. So if that's the best you can get right now, and you want to sell right now, that's probably the best you can do. few good games might change it. If you think Dallas can do that. 25 second. Is that sufficient in return, or should I hold for a better offer? Personally, I'd wait. I would trade for a wide receiver instead of trying to trade for picks. Would maybe my go-to, or go to tight end, go to quarterback. But, I mean, the value right now is probably fair, apparently.
Yep.
Other 1 to 3 teams also looking to sell players. I want to get ahead of them. Yeah. What player would you target if you're in this situation? You're less competitive. You're trying to sell a running back. Is there a player that stands out to you? Garrett Wilson, probably, I'm guessing, Zach? Is he at the top of the list?
Sorry, because I started speaking before you said Zach. If anybody's discounting Garrett Wilson, go buy him.
Yeah, I mean, but they shouldn't be. I mean, it's literally a Zach Wilson problem, not a Garrett Wilson problem. And even the second half, I don't know, Peter, I know you don't watch the games but the second half of Zach Wilson last week was actually
good,
quasi passable.
Oh, yeah. You take it.
You
back.
Can say it. You the G word. It was
yeah. He was good for about a half and 3 minutes.
That's
an improvement.
You also I don't know. Any other players that's come to mind on that list are just injured guys like JT, I guess, if you wanted to stay in running back, or you could go for Kyler Murray in a super flex, or I don't know, Pitts and Drake London at some point are going to be buyable from
Addison
competitive
JSN.
Addison, JSN. Yeah. Those two. And I also sent an offer somewhere on Greg DeLuch, where he was injured so early, and he really did have a solid year one. Tight ends, if you're interested in him, nowhere near that value, obviously. That occurred to me. I was going to mention that this week. And Josh Downs, I still think he's having a pretty solid season, slightly underrated.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
This has nothing.
Michael Wilson, where's he ranking for you guys now? Like, I still. Like he's having a 36 year right now. It's pretty good, but I don't like him more than Josh Downs suddenly.
I don't know. Like he's a guy right now that I think you can still buy low on. Oh, and he was a 3rd round pick.
Who are we talking about?
Yeah,
Michael
Wilson, Arizona.
Very good in Arizona.
Yeah,
he's been earning 18% of the team's routes, and this week had a big game. He was like,
I can guarantee you, if he's not on your roster somewhere, you have no idea what he's doing. I say that because
probably true. Yeah,
I don't have him on any of my rosters, and I found out today what he was doing.
Yeah, but again, that's one of those where you can go, like, you might be able to go get.
It's like a Jahan Dotson bet at this point. Think of it that way, really.
Yeah. I guess
he's doing fine.
I liked him better than I like. I like the way he plays better than I like the way Dotson plays. I know now, because you've seen Dotson be like Dotson be good in the NFL. Now the bet would be better on Dotson, but like if they had come out together and we didn't have the sample size that because look, them playing in the NFL is more relevant than their college at this point.
Should be more heavily weighted, especially since we're at week 4 right now. But you're still playing we still don't know, and the college profile still matters kind of a game. Benjamin Seagull. Don't know why I said it that way, Benjamin, but you are welcome. Oh, shit. This isn't going to go well. I dropped this on the way here and I forgot. 12-team Superflex tight end premium, 0.25 points per carry. First year of the league. Things haven't gone as planned. QBs Hurts, Watson, Jacob Sanders, Roshan, Pirine, Jeff Wilson. Well, that's the team. Where's the question here, Ben?
True.
Oh. Yeah, true. Young wide receivers haven't flashed how I hoped, and it doesn't look like I've got much firepower to be a contender. Currently 1-3, and PF doesn't tell a different story. I would say, while I'm trying to make strong decisions on players, I think fantasy teams by week 4, they should pick a direction.
Yep.
But there's still a lot of play left. Like, you can easily have a winning record by the middle of the season, if you know what I mean. But what do you guys see here? Sorry, I'm in a bit of a trouble here. So,
well, there's more. Oh man,
this is a bad
dude. Idea. This is a 5-parter. I've tried to actively send out offers to try and sell the main running backs and older assets, primarily Jacobs, Sanders, Hopkins with whatever window dressing I think makes sense to balance out the value. Tried sending for picks, tried sending for younger players, sending Jacobs at roughly mid-first value, Sanders and Hopkins together at around a late first value. That's way too much. No dice, and I have spammed the offers. Am I unrealistic? Oh, 0.25 points per carry, but still no. Am I unrealistic in my valuations noting the 0.25 points per carry, or should I just be patient and wait? Would like to shed some of the points to have a decent shot at Caleb or Marvin Harrison Jr., but don't want to sell low.
So with Jacobs, you're going to have to wait for him to actually.
Well, he did this
something.
Week.
Yeah.
The valuation from league to league is insane. I'm trying to convince one guy in a superflex not to trade Tua Tagovailoa for Josh Jacobs, and Ben can't get a first. We were literally just kind of talking about this, how the league itself can be frustrating. And you're trying to zig when they zag, but when no one's moving in any direction, it's hard to do anything. I think that the best I can come up with is you just got to be patient. You got to wait for a team that has an ounce of guts to move in one direction and be willing to be that other team that's willing to help them go the direction they want so that you can go the other direction, essentially. Give them points or give them value to try and improve your teams in two different directions. But you just got to try and keep sending those offers and building some sort of communication with them so that you can know when one of them is ready to. But it's very difficult to do. Like, I literally just spent 30 minutes ranting about it in one of my leagues. So I'm not saying like it's easy to do. Just take that step. Make sure you keep up the conversation. Sometimes it's just difficult to get anything done in a league. But I do think, just so I can stop ranting here and let the experts talk, my best idea here is your valuations seem relatively fair, and you kind of just got to wait for another team to be willing to work with you on it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, when I was reading quickly, you're late first on Miles and Hopkins isn't going to happen.
That's fair.
You're better off splitting them up as like throw-ins on other offers, like that's Jacobs and Sanders or Jacobs and Hopkins for something. And honestly, I would not shy at throwing them in as practically throw-ins in a Josh Jacobs trade. You are absolutely right. You should be getting a mid-first for Josh Jacobs in a points per carry league. He has one game of under 10 carries. This week was different. A, he scored a touchdown. B, he had 11 targets.
Yeah, the targets. Yeah.
But also, just to put it out there, I just pulled up his season in MFL. He has 5 games for the rest of the season. Teams rated below 20th. Well, better than 20th at run defense, and one of them is 19th. So he has a very good schedule, and he's good. So yeah, don't sell him for less than you have to, but also every league is its own economy. If you're screwed, you're kind of screwed. And if that's the case, sell Christian Watson, sell these guys that have the upside. Unfortunately, sell Roshan. Try and get these cheap. Go get Jacoby Myers. These cheap guys that'll score you points to try and push you up a bit. Like, just because you're not scoring well right now doesn't mean you need to lose. It means you just need to do something. And honestly, it might just be waiting a little bit because Jacobs is getting back into his form. Sooner or later, Roshan is going to take over. He's just better than Khalil Herbert. Christian Watson is going to get more acclimated. I mean, Deshaun Watson isn't doing terrible. He's just not, old Deshaun Watson.
He decided not to play last week, but
deciding is a strong word, but
no, he literally decided. He said, "I'm not ready to go this week."
He was like, "I'm out. I'm good."
Well, he had to put as much space between present times and that time where he threw the ball in the wrong direction.
That's fair.
But don't panic. You have a strong team. It's not producing right now, but definitely sell Hopkins and Sanders for whatever you can get. If you can get seconds for them, you're fine.
I think your point, Ross, about adding some of the older players, not almost as values, but just on a trade to get it done. So if you get a good trade that you like for Jacobs, but they're not sure, they don't want to do it, you give them Hopkins just to make it happen. It's not fair, but that's how all guys work in Dynasty. And even the young guys that are disappointing, honestly, you can just add them to get it done. I think that, so reframing the kind of offers you're sending and using them as grease rather than value, I think that's a good way that might find you some better trades as well. But yeah, sorry. Zach, did you have anything?
No, I think that, I mean, like, you guys are headed in the same direction that you can't tank if nobody's willing to trade you pieces to tank with. So
I would also just I think of, I gotta shut up today, but one of the things I start with when I'm looking at selling on a roster is players that I'm not going to do that with. And Hurts and probably Tank, unless you get really good offers that do a lot for your team, I'm probably just not putting them in the shopping pool, as it were. But everyone else can go.
I just wanted to mention it would be fun, and instead of like selling Jacobs for a pick, see how high you can go with Watson and Jacobs.
Ooh.
Like, see how much of a really good young quarterback you can get, because then you're shedding. Yeah, you're shedding points and getting a really good asset, and especially if it's someone that we know is good, it's safer than just getting a random first.
If you could get Stroud for Watson and Jacobs, that would be fun.
Yeah, it's a really good start for next year, if you know what I mean. I got my quarterback, so yeah.
And also, once you actually make that first trade away, when you send away Jacobs, other people are going to notice and be like, all right, this dude's tanking. And of course, you're going to get a lot of very bad offers, and one of them would be from me if I were in your league, because I will always see what I can get away with. But that's when it's like action begets action. Like it takes one to get things started. So even if you can just swing Hopkins or Sanders for a second, other people seeing that this time of season will get those other teams like, buys are starting. I can get a running back for a second. Okay. And that's the hope, at least. Like, it'll start at least other discussions. But I got to go to the draft. So love you all. Hopefully, maybe be back.
This is also a potential Burrow buy window.
Oh, there you go.
So happy I didn't click that button so fast. Do that right now. Go see what that Burrow manager looks like. Yes. Okay, now bye.
Bye, Russ. Good luck.
That's true as well. The one move helps the second move happen. It happened to me this week. I sent a first out for every upside running back this year I could in the league, and all got turned down except for I forget who it was, but they countered with Najee Harris. Najee Harris isn't one of the running backs I wanted, but he's a running back, and so we ended up working out a deal where I traded for a first for Najee Harris plus some stuff. And I immediately got more offers from other teams who are like, oh, you were serious. You're actually, yeah. And it can happen pretty quick. So sorry, Ben. Hope it works out. Okay, Coop. Good evening, gents. Big inbox offer to start the show, but first, some content. 12 teams, Superflex start, 10, 0.5 PPR. In year one, in a productive struggle, got offered Garrett Wilson, JSN, and a 24 first for Josh Allen. What do you think? I think no.
Well, I mean,
Josh Allen?
That's pretty darn close, though.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, that's
value-wise is like, probably there, but if I'm selling Josh Allen, I tend to think liquidate. I'm trading those guys. I'm like, I want as much draft capital as possible, but it's pretty.
Well, I mean, that's fair, but you're getting what, 4.5 firsts?
2, 3, 4, 4-ish. Yeah. So, yeah.
I mean, again, it's in a.
But if you only have the 2 firsts, I'm not sure you get a quarterback back in the draft. You're going to have to keep trading, is the thing.
Yeah. In a Superflex league, trading Josh Allen and not getting a quarterback back is kind of dangerous. It would be interesting to see what the rest of his roster looks like, because I'm not averse to like hunting quarterback, but I like to at least have one on my roster.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. This is a pretty decent offer. If you're selling Josh Allen, though, first things first, send an offer out that's better to every other league team and see if this is the best you get.
Peter has Young and Stroud to build around already, and I'm 0-4.
Oh,
so
yeah, in that case,
I don't mind doing that. I think I want Garrett Wilson. He's not gonna hurt you too bad points wise. I want JSN because I think he is one of the two real studs in this past class. Although there may end up being more. Like we've seen, like Naku has been really good. I know we kind of he's been really good and has been earning targets and doing things with them, which I know Cup comes back and so he probably takes a little bit of a backseat to Cup at some point this season, but still. It's the old you can have two wide receivers on a team be
we believe in two wide receivers. So yeah. It's just didn't get that evaluation right. Actually, I think it's a Michael Thomas thing. Like he just was not used in college. So I mean, there's not much you can do there. There are 10 that have been told of that guy for every one that's hit. So.
And I have a real hard time not knee jerking the Senior Bowl that week. Because everybody looks good. I mean, it's and so it's like I know that people said Nakua looked good in practice, but every year everybody looks good.
Yeah. That's the thing. That's a problem. When it doesn't work, going for what works most often sucks. It's like all you've got to go back to is it normally doesn't work, but I mean that means next time you're probably pretty safe. But Puka's just good. The thought of giving up Allen hurts. Allen hurt. Sorry,
it hurts. The thought.
Hurt. I don't recognize the word hurts other than Jalen Hurts anymore. I'm already stacked with wide receiver. Yeah. I think it's a pretty good trade given your overall roster. And that's no problem, Ben. We're here for. I am particularly long-winded, so. Genji, you're asking for too much.
Yeah, he's going back to Benjamin and
Someone offered me Miles Sanders and Hopkins for a 24 first. I might just hit the block button. Got offered Jalen for Stroud, Kyron, and my 201. Jalen Hurts, I'm assuming. Kind of with just Stroud and Kyron. My mind went blank there. I've got nothing. Waiting on reply. Our love for CJ. I don't think the second would have stopped me doing it. But sure, not having to pay the second better, I guess. No way anyone paying a first for those bad offenses for Hopkins and Sanders. No, I think it's worth using them as add-ins on other trades. Yeah. Again, Greece. Should we be worrying about JSN yet? I mean, yes, but no. You don't take any action. You just know you have to see something eventually. But we expect to see something eventually. And also, we did know the team he went to. We did know the receiving core that he went to.
So Jason, if you, I don't know how long you've been hanging out here, but if you were around in the kind of pre-draft process and preseason process, the reason why Jordan Addison was my number one wide receiver over JSN, and they were basically neck and neck in terms of film evaluation, was because I didn't expect JSN to do very much the first half of the year. So this is not a panic button yet. He's on a offense that may not be the best offense with two top wide receivers also occupying the same receiving core. So it's not a panic yet. We're good. He's good. We'll get there.
We're sticking to it, but I do expect to see things by the end of the year. So you grow more and more concerned, but I'm still expecting it. So you're good. A-Chain is just a superstar. I think he's so far has been pretty good. Yeah. He was a track star, right? I can't remember our rookie evaluations anymore.
Absolutely.
Miles Sanders stinks. Next time he's doing well, though, could you remember that? I'm tired of being I felt like I was gaslighting Miles Sanders for a while. I was like, he's okay. And now he's back to being Miles Sanders, so that's good. Yes, he is, Genji. What of it? Is that old? What were you saying about me? No, you good. I was saying Sam Howell stinks 6 weeks ago, and here I am starting him as my QB1. Season does have a way of humbling you that way, doesn't it? He is indeed, but still dominating targets. I'm talking about Sanders again. Okay, we're moving on. The guy who owns Joe Burrow is trying to make a run. I'm in a rebuild. Yes, you should go trade for him. Would you all go after Burrow? Yes, we would. And we'll probably be a top 3 pick. 12, man. Hold the pick to get a QB next year.
But hold on. If he's trying to make a run, why is he like...
Yeah, you should be selling them points.
Yeah.
I would be, if you're going down, you want to hold your pick. That's the only rule of the deal there. You can send him youth. You can send him a second. You can send him lots of points or even a good young player. A whole bunch of trades that can get done that send him in the direction that he wants to go and you in the direction you want to go. But sending your pick probably shouldn't be part of that deal.
Right. I mean, ultimately, Burrow is worth more than a top 3 pick next year, but
you try
giving up your pick and getting an injured quarterback makes
he's
that
trying to
pick
have his
better.
cake and eat it.
Yeah.
Tell him he can eat the cake or not. I guess. Just fresh. I get it. Oh, okay. We're just in the middle of that conversation. So, Sammy S. 10 teams to flex. Start 12. Justin Herbert, Amon-Ra St. Brown, or Justin Herbert, or Amon-Ra and Higgins. In the super flex, for me, I think it's Herbert. We also have Burrow, Tua, and Stafford. You don't really need Herbert. I would try and get a trade going with Stafford, who's doing well this year, and keep Tua. Or even Burrow. It depends what direction you're going. If you're winning, try trading Burrow, I guess, because Justin Herbert is actually above Joe Burrow when he's at his peak for me.
Yeah.
So you're getting the points and you're moving forward. That'd be
Herbert's the QB1 right now.
Herbert's very good.
Like definite article,
Definite article, yeah. I don't mind the trade, but given your roster, I just want to try some other trades first, is all I'm saying. Like stacking up at QB, I mean, John Hogue will fall in love with you, but I think 3 is fine. In fact, 3 is the ideal. I want to add Justin Herbert, but I'm trying not to send 2 great wide receivers if I've got an extra QB I can use to try and get some of that value back, if you know what I mean. Stroud in a 25 first or Richardson?
Stroud in the first, yeah.
Stroud. Stroudy Stradison. McStroud. It's a super flex, by the way. I would hope so. Why does Arthur Smith hate good football? I don't know, but he does.
I mean, it depends on your definition of good football, because there are some people I know that just love to run into the offensive line as many times as they possibly can. You know what's really fun, though? Bijan Robinson. I know that you don't film. I know that you don't tape. You need to go for like 30 seconents and just watch Bijan Robinson. Oh, he's so much fun.
Yeah, I've heard he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's fun.
Pretty good. Complete.
PFF had him like Oh no, PFF had his like forced missed tackle rate like really low. Like they were like, yeah, he's only had 4 forced missed tackles on the season. This was like before last week. And I'm like, I know that I watched a play where he had like 6. So I don't know. It's just been fun.
I read a waiver wire article somewhere this week that said get Tyler Algier as a buy low. I was like, I don't mind the idea, but the whole premise behind it was Bijan Robinson's volume and all that. I'm like, nah, that's not the attitude you need. Yeah, he's pretty good. Did I skip one? Yeah. People regretting Bijan at 101 and Superflex over Stroud. don't Stroud me, Jazz Fresh. I was the one sitting here confused why Stroud was definitely third and no one wanted him over Richardson or Young, and to me they're all pretty narrow, and Richardson I didn't really want, and now suddenly Stroud was a 101. No, you can't have that. It was Richardson. They were Richardson at 101 and the guy at 103 maybe got Stroud. So no, I'm not regretting taking Bijan Robinson because he's been better than Young and Richardson so far for Dynasty teams, even in the Superflex league so far this year, and I expect that to be pretty consistent. Even though this has got a shorter career arc. So no, Stroud fell below all three. You can't just rewrite the order. What if I knew what was gonna happen? I would say Stroud, obviously. But again,
yeah. But the Achane thing is a little bit disingenuous. Like he's been good. Like he's been really good, and that's not to take anything away. But like
you can't keep putting up. You can't keep doing this. But he's gonna be pretty good. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but that's a lot of, again, we get back to touchdowns, but that's a lot of touchdowns.
Too many, one might say. And in fact, he is. I just think he's going to continue to slowly get the larger share of that workload. So I'm not concerned. But again, he was a late first. And I'm really happy with what, obviously, we got out of him so far. I was actually trying to look
but yes, Jazz. The moral of the
60 yards per touchdown. Okay.
Yeah. the moral of the story is yes, quarterbacks. Like if there are good quarterbacks, you probably should draft them.
I think we can make exceptions for running back profile now and again at least. Wide receivers a little sketchy on it, but occasionally. No. And no one took Stroud one. That is true.
Achane has 6 touchdowns in his last 2 games.
The people that took JSN and Gibbs over Stroud are punching walls. I think, that's where wide receivers can be a little sketchy. We're a little less sure on their certainty, especially early with wide receivers and JSN especially. And Gibbs was a guy we kept, I'm trying to. The guys used to. It feels like those that used to tell me Gibbs was a lot better than I was saying, I'm now trying to boost their confidence back up, reminding them of how much like Kamara he actually is, given the start of his career. It's actually it's still in the rate, but I told you this was the thing. Anyway, Bijan or CMC and a 24 first. If my team's competitive, I'll take the extra first and just have CMC. That's fine by me.
Yeah.
If not, then I'm not interested in just sliding over. And well, if you're not competitive, you could probably then trade CMC on again, but you can trade Bijan straight for better than that. I'd say.
I mean, you should. Yeah. Yep.
Sober money. Also, Kyler Murray and JSN for Bryce Young, Addison and 2 fourths. JSN, Bryce Young.
I think Addison. I'd rather have Murray and JSN.
Am I reading that right? Murray and JSN. For Young, Addison, and 2 fourths. It's not bad. The 2 fourths are honestly a little bit of a joke here. So it's just Murray and JSN, I think. Yeah,
I'd rather have Murray than Bryce Young.
Yeah,
and JSN and Addison are kind of a push. I'm like, you probably want Addison a little more, but
yeah, I prefer Addison at this point. You did to start the season, so it's a bit of a push, but Murray. Yeah, I take Murray over Young, so there you go. Hello, would you trade Nico and AK-47? Kincaid?
I'm assuming that's Kamara.
Oh, okay. My bad. I don't watch, you see. I don't know their numbers. For Waddle. 10 teams who flex PPR. And 1 and 3 with Mahomes, Tua, Watson.
I want Waddle.
Yeah. Pretty comfortably, actually. Yeah. Nico's really interesting. There are some players this year where if you're competitive, you can go for some of these mid-career. Nico's like mid-career, to be fair, not further into his career. I think he's going to be pretty usable for the rest of the season and maintain that. And Alvin Kamara is too. But Waddle is that, and then, a lot more of those years on top. So, yeah, Waddle quite easily. But both of those are interesting targets. Why do panic so quickly on rookies? Panic? No. React? Yes. React sensibly. Just because most rookies show something earlier rather than later. Not the best players all do it early, by the way. That's why we're not so concerned with JSN. But most show something in year one, and by week 4, we would expect to see something from most good players, not all, but most. So you do, and the reason is essentially because the market is so fast right now. Everyone's aware of so much and paying attention to so much. There are so many podcasts and so many stupid live streams where everyone's sharing good information. Apart from what Russ pointed out about no one knowing who Michael Wilson is yet, it's rare that you'll catch someone sleeping. Everyone knows that JSN's been a little shaky. We all kind of know we were expecting that, but we all kind of know we were expecting, like, I do nothing but grind this data, and I can't give you anything but what I think most people in your league should know. And you're looking for the few that don't know it, obviously, but like that's why you're trying to react stronger, quicker, because there's little edge in the actual details anymore.
But the flip side of that, Scribbles, is if everybody is panicking, if everybody is doing the Hook, the Lost Boys, where Rufio says, "Oh, he's not paying," and everybody runs over here, and then Bud is like, "Yeah, but," and then everybody runs over here. Like when people are doing that, there is an advantage to be gained when everybody is like, "Oh, JSN sucks after 4 weeks." Like, go buy that, because it's not a 4-week breakout. It's not there's some time.
It's where it gets tricky. And it's why I spend so much time in the off season re-going over the breakout trends and looking who's most likely, because I think we all know it, but we're getting lost in the source sometimes. For example, you say third-year breakouts. That was never the highest breakout year, by the way. It's just because by the time you got to the third year, there were all these players who hadn't hit that we just created content around saying third-year breakouts are a thing, because they are. And we were hoping that's when they did it, and so we held out hope for these upside young players. The problem is most players that break out finish at least, it's like 90%, finish at least inside the top 36 the year before if they didn't already have a top 24 breakout. So most players have done something before they break out, even if they wait till their third year to break out. And I'm talking about even Robert Woods, who is even later than that. Devontae Parker had a top 24 year, I'm pretty sure, after year 3, which is the rarest one, not even finishing inside the top 36 before they do anything. And you'll note they get worse and worse. The later the initial breakout is, the less you have on the expectation of the rest of their career as well. Weirdly, randomly, yeah, sure. And some of that's age, maybe, but it's also just because what held them back before continues to be a problem moving forward, I assume. So let me break it down here. We're not expecting breakouts this year. We're expecting not minimums, around 600 yards, around 17% target share per game at the end of the season. Tyler Boyd hit those numbers year 1. In fact, he beat those numbers year 1, and yet he wasn't making many startup lineups that year. So it's not that we expect breakouts. We expect positive games and positive trends through the rookie year. Are there later breakouts? Yes, Nico Collins is actually kind of undergoing one right now. And again, remember what I said about Robert Woods. They tend to have low expectations for the rest after that. But they become diminishing returns because they happen less often, and they have lower ceilings and less longevity as well. And that was true when we used to talk about third-year breakouts. The second year is actually the most common actual breakout in terms of having number of starts or finishing inside the top 24. And that has been the case for 20 years. So we didn't go from third-year breakouts. We went from kind of overemphasizing a worse breakout year. Not that it's not it's actually a pretty good breakout year. It's marginally below the second year and higher than the first year. But we were overemphasizing it because we were holding on to young players that we'd liked 2 years previously, and we needed reasons to believe in them. So we went from that to recognizing that year 2 was actually the highest breakout year, and content, because everyone is just as smart and just as aware, content shifted to emphasizing that. And now, because everyone knows that, we're emphasizing all the positivity we should expect really from year 1, even if they're going to wait till year 3 to break out. So that's how we've ended up on this regression where it feels like now we expect everyone to break out year 1. It's not that. It's because people are understanding the trend well enough that they now know they can look for things that make them more likely to be better players earlier, even if it's year 2 and year 3 right now. And the edges shrink on the margins of beating your friends who actually pay attention to podcasts and whatever else. Sorry to go on that, but it's really I like it. I've been tracking that one for a while. Because I came in, that's one of the first things I heard. I was looking for general things that, well, essentially my process, things that happen most often in an average year, so I can understand expectations and move from there. And that's one of the ones I came across originally, third year breakouts, and rookies don't break out. And so I logged that in, and it took me a while to figure out what was going on. So I actually put a little bit of my shoulder grease behind figuring it out. They never do. Yes, they do. Actually, the third year is marginally behind the second in terms of players finishing inside position ranks for the first time. It's only marginally behind the second year, but it is behind it. Shout out for us on Dynasty Trades in 5. Yeah, true. Stroud was thought to be the first overall QB during the bot. Yes, Jazz, I spoke to you all off season. You were not in here telling me I was wrong to not have Stroud above Richardson, because I did. I remember that because my initial model put Stroud above all of them, not because I'm great at evaluating, because I don't have a strong evaluation process. And he was slightly more accurate for a slightly longer period of time than Young. And then everyone convinced me of Anthony Richards' upside because I don't have a QB evaluation process. And I actually changed my ranks because you all and also other evaluators and listening to the arguments changed me. But no one had Stroud there. And I'm not trying to pwn you with that. It's worth remembering how it went instead of trying to rewrite it so it feels better, because that's important next year.
Stroud, from not a numbers perspective, but from a film perspective, was not the number one quarterback until the 2 bowl games that he all of a sudden put, so it was like, oh, hey, small sample, let's go. And it's like,
and that's the type of thing we all kind of fade.
It drives me nuts. And this was not just I had Young, Stroud, easy 1-2 until the combine and the draft, and Richardson ran a 4.43, and then you go, and
then Young was drafted first overall.
Yeah, well, I don't even care. To me, that matters.
Well, that's one of the things that weights in mind.
It doesn't in mind. I want to see them go top 10.
Yeah.
If a team spends a top 10, then they allocated draft capital. So, but they all win.
I really didn't understand the separation of someone who doesn't watch and doesn't have a process, and the draft pick was the different. Oh, okay, I guess that guy.
And again, there wasn't much for me. There wasn't much separation between Young and Stroud in terms of the quarterback play. I thought they were good. I thought they were both good. They did different things.
I tell you what's interesting about this, because again, what's important to me is remembering how it went, because I don't know the future and I didn't know the past, or I didn't know now in the past. And Young's still good. I wrote that up in my column this week. We're trying to talk ourselves into, or some people might be trying to talk themselves into, why didn't they get Stroud right? I think we did. I think we were aware he was pretty close and pretty good. But Young was drafted first, but bowl games and all the things Zach just ran through. And then Anthony Richardson's upside. And he's doing pretty well, although he was inaccurate last week. So Young then becomes a conversation. Instead of trying to go back and wonder how you could have get Stroud ahead of him, instead wonder now if you really should be pushing that hard, considering that you work so hard. We all work so hard, and Young ended up edging ahead. Last week, he got 7 fantasy points, but it was actually his best pacer and best completion percentage of the season on his return from injury. Young's not done. And so, while that'll be a fascinating conversation. Again, next off season, we're evaluating quarterbacks, and that'll go back on the pile of things we try to use to get more accurate more often. I think right now, what we should be thinking about is if we're right or wrong on Young, and we definitely don't have enough to sway us one way or the other, but I haven't seen anything that makes me think he isn't who we thought he was too. Right. So hopefully he can have a better season moving forward, and this is a window for Young instead of trying to wonder about whether Stroud should have been one.
And I think it's heartening that you've heard come out of Carolina that they want to put receivers around Bryce Young.
God, you got to hope.
Yeah, so no offense to Adam Thielen, but
no, I did have a moment when Andy Dalton stepped in and had a great game. I was like, oh, so Young should be doing better. That's what I ended up writing up, because I don't know how QBs like if Andy Dalton can do really well with that receiving core, then Stroud should be able to do better than he has been doing. But then he came back this week and did, in a different matchup, completed more passes, converted his air yards a little better. Progression. I was like, okay, well, that's what we're looking for, right? But anyway, I think Young's the one to train our thoughts on right now. Again, you don't have to go buy Young if you now think he's bad. But it is the better window right now. Like, again, in 6 months, we could be talking about, remember when everyone tried to convince you to sell Young. So instead, we don't want to be that guy right now. We want to make a decision about if his value is dropping. I think it's a really interesting Young window. Anyway, I think that's the place to be right now, rather than trying to redo our ranks from 3 months ago. Cypher, hey guys, a lot of people got Walker wrong.
I don't know about that. Like, I mean, maybe, but like to me, he was always the best runner in that class. He was always the number 2 running back in that class.
I'm surprised by the fact it's completely not a split. And I can't keep doing this. I actually think, because maybe I'm wrong, Cypher, because I know you were here too, but I remember being slightly dubious that Charbonnet was clearly going to take over that backfield. I felt like he was projected after the draft to, that's the guy now. And I was like, I don't know about that. He's still good. I seem to remember that's where we were on him. So correct me if I'm wrong, Cypher, but I think we were there. I am really impressed with, I didn't expect top 12. I expected some sort of split, but I didn't think Charbonnet was going to take over. And so at a certain point, we're like, I feel like we said Walker might be a buy. Not that I bought. So maybe I'm getting that wrong. We should watch back our streams or make notes on the things we say. My ranks seem to have been pretty good on Walker because I do evaluate those weekly.
Well, and it was when Walker came in as the running back 3 or 4.
Yeah, that's like
that's a
before
sell.
the draft. We were like when he was being sold as a top 5 running back. We were like sell. If you can sell him for that value. Yeah.
I think that's the thing, Cypher, too, is you got to understand that positions on players in terms of value are really fluid, because when the community or when consensus says, all of a sudden, I mean, it was the Trey Lance thing. When Trey Lance was quarterback 7, that is a complete sell. When Trey Lance was still on San Francisco and he dropped down to like quarterback 15, 16, that all of a sudden becomes a buy, because you've already seen his ceiling is quarterback 7, even if he's not playing, because people like, and so it's kind of
what I think. Yeah. Sorry, Vic.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I think that's what Cypher's talking, because I remember having a few conversations. One of them was a guy saying he couldn't sell Walker for the value we were saying to sell him for. And I remember ending that conversation with, just keep Walker then because he's pretty good. And what's going on, I think, is that's the problem with going with micro markets, as tend to be our way of playing. At one point, Walker was like a top 5 dynasty asset, in that you could have AJ Brown right now. You could have CMC Plus right now. The idea was he was being valued where we could go get all that. Justin Jefferson and that level of value, and we're like, sell. And then when the draft came along, we were like, actually, he's probably a little bit of... And so depending on when you're listing, you could definitely have gotten in the impression we hated Ken Walker. But yeah, I think he still beat what I would have expected. He's beating what I would have expected. But I think... in terms of evaluating my process, I think we're low on him when he was highest, and I think we're higher on him when he was lowest, if you know what I mean. And that puts us in a nice place to have been fairly okay on what he actually is this season. But maybe I'm wrong. Again, I'm happy to hear when I'm getting something wrong, so I want to remember it so I don't do it again. But yeah, anyone that thought Charbonnet was going to take over the backfield, just be the guy because of draft capital, then. Genji, there were some people taking Will Levis over him.
Over
CJ Stroud? Really? Wow. I remember being a late first early on, but I seem to remember that fading pretty quick. And that wasn't us. Sure.
No, Levis was like 10 for me.
Good. Yeah. Ugly. He can't get started even. No. Philip J. Fry. I've seen your show, sir. Hello. Strategy question. Does 0RB work in PPR? Standard scoring. It works better in PPR. That's actually where it's most volatile.
He said in non PPR. Does zero work in non PPR?
Oh, in no PPR. I get you. Sorry, I misread. Less viable, but yes, it's still viable. My league has a toilet bowl, so tanking won't work. Does that mean I have to treat my league like redraft each year? No, not necessarily. I don't know why I would convert it to a redraft league. As long as you're keeping the same roster, you still have to adjust from a redraft strategy. Leagues where you're punished for scoring worse don't make sense to me. I mean, I get where the motivation comes from, but I don't think it helps the league out in general. But since that's the league you're in, you do have to keep it in mind, and just try to be more competitive. I would say this, Philip. I do think it emphasizes trying to be more competitive. If that's what you mean about the redraft comment every year, because there's no incentive in finishing worse, or there's no way to exploit being a worse team. But again, like we were just talking about with CJ Stroud, the best quarterback isn't always taken at the first pick. And that's often the case. Outside of running back, or accuracy in terms of the overall ranks in the top three, it's a little sketchy. So you can still try to tank and just not care exactly which bottom pick you get. A top 6 pick is better than a bottom 6 pick. And normally it's divided up between the toilet bowl and those who actually get into the player. So you're at least getting a top 6 pick. But no, I don't think it means you have to treat it entirely like redraft, but it can put you more on that mindset. Am I missing something on that, Zach?
No, I think that's kind of the way to attack that to me is especially if your league values youth, then you can acquire. I mean, we just talked about DeAndre Hopkins being able to get him for a second, like things like that, where you're attacking the older players. I mean, Mike Evans is obviously injured right now, but like Mike Evans is that type of player where he's especially in a standard league, in a non-PPR league, where you've got a guy who is a red zone target. All of a sudden,
you can also I was thinking you can also maybe attack the injured market a little more aggressively, because people will be more wary of tanking, given what you're saying. Like on the Superflex Super Show, the idea was rolled out on building teams to trade for Nick Chubb. And I hate that idea typically. But, like, I could get it. He's going to... Apparently, his knee is nowhere near as injured as it should be based on that video, by the way. But, like, if he gets back to health and starts next year, that's a hell of a running back to have on a team that you tanked, so your pick isn't as good, but you're immediately more competitive because you highlighted, like, injured running back, older players. Like Zach was saying, target older players and injured players and use those to make yourself more competitive next year. While still that'll ultimately hurt you in the toilet bowl there, but you're also getting more competitive. You just got to look for the best way to go based on what your league mates don't want to do, and maybe try and take advantage of that. That's kind of always the game. Well, not take advantage. It always makes it seem like everyone should be doing it. No, if we're all trying to do the same thing, we wouldn't always be able to. The whole point is the future's unpredictable, so just take the best path. Will Levis disappointed at the combine? He sure did. Yeah.
He disappointed this entire season. Yeah.
12-team Superflex PPR offered to give Pickens for Nico. Oh, don't do that. But it's fine. Counter tonight, 24 Firth in addition. Thoughts? It's the same position trade. You're trading a younger player with a better rookie profile earlier in his career, and a situation that has to get better. I don't mind getting Nico if your team's more competitive. I think Nico helps you out more this year. But it's the same position trade. The force don't matter here. And I'd just probably rather keep the younger guy who I think's got more longevity in it. I think the team does something at the wide receiver position now that they've auditioned CJ Stroud, and it's gone pretty well, if you know what I mean. I think they're trying to get more for him. What do you think, Zach? Do you think Nico has more long-term top 15 wide receiver in him?
Probably not. But again, like you're seeing him produce
He's
now.
doing really well.
So yeah, so like I don't mind this trade if you are competing.
That's
it's Nico Collins is the points play. I think Pickens, again, you're hoping for that ceiling.
Yeah, still.
And it's going to take a new quarterback, and it's going to take some things to break right. So
that's true. That is what it's the same position trade, so I just hate it as it is. But if I had to make a decision on it, it would be how competitive is my team. I'd either hold for higher upside, which I think Pickens has, or I'd go for Nico, who's actually got pretty solid week-to-week upside, at least for this year. And a piece of that CJ Stroud offense, I don't mind that. Yeah, I got you. Nico greater than Pickens. Genji, we're fighting. Not really, but still. I don't have that strong a feeling on Pickens. Nick, is now a good time to buy low on Waddle? I actually think potentially, but it all depends on your league mate, right? He's not been putting up the points even when healthy. I mean, when you got Devin A-Chain scoring all the touchdowns one week, I think that was a week he wasn't healthy, actually, and Tyreek Hill having the first couple of weeks he did. Yeah, you can play the long game with Waddle. We're still very comfortable having him in that tier. I am. And I'm pretty sure Zach, since he just said it earlier, is as well.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think so. But the best time to buy low on a guy is when your league mate actually thinks, less of them. So it all depends on that. Should I try a combo? I would trade Drake London plus any of that for Waddle. Yeah. My value hasn't changed on him. So anything that would have worked this offseason for you is good. Would you trade all of that for Waddle? I know you Burks.
Yeah, I mean,
MT solid.
It's kind of gross. I don't know if I would accept that for Waddle, but
that's what I was going to say. I think you should try something that's going to tempt them, and I don't think most of that does. London plus a first would really tempt them, I think. And I would still do that. Yeah, I'd rather Waddle. So
Pete, I gotta run real quick. I'll be right back.
Yeah, go. You're good. Oh crap! Just me and you. That's a problem. Yeah, you could try any of this, by the way, Nick. I'm just your league makes better, but I think they'll just auto reject it. And I think if you start sending too many offers, you can actually work your way out of a trade because they're just tired of saying no. So I'd start with a stronger offer. I don't want to trade first in general. It's a good rule. But I would look for something to add to Drake London that actually might interest them at that level of value. Because I don't think, unless they're a competitive team and they might start MT weekly or Gabe Davis weekly upside tempts them, I don't think all of that together really is interesting to most teams. But London's a good center to start building a trade with. Not all of them. I mean, you seriously could. I'd be fine with that. But I don't think anyone would accept it. But what from that list could get it done? I think London, again, I shouldn't keep going over this, but I think London's a really solid center of that trade. You're giving them a good young wide receiver in a really tough situation this year. All the upside from last year is still built in. So they might be really interested in London. And that gives you what? Close to 70% of Waddle's value for some teams. You're hoping they value London that way. And so then you just have to plonk something on top, which is also interesting. And that's why I kind of don't like the other pieces you've got there, because it depends on your league mate, but I don't think most of them carry that value to most people. So I go looking for something else. Where are Jazz Fresh? A trade I made before week 4. 12 team Superflex start 10. Sent Ford a Mo start. Okay, good start. For a 25 first. Yeah, solid. Ford I get. Mo start, I didn't realize that I maybe underestimated how many people would think that Mo start's big blow up with A-Chain would be consistent. That was pure. A-Chain was touchdowns, don't get me wrong, but he still got the lead and volume there. I think Mostert mostly just salted away the touches in that overblown game total, whereas A-Chain was real signal. So, yeah, you got incredible value for a guy who's just another good, hope, desperation, running back to start kind of guy. Ford's a little more interesting, but a team that the offense needs to be a bit healthier for Ford to pay off more. Very good trade. Matt started 0-3. I'm there with you on some leagues, man. Oh, Zach's back.
Hey.
So I sold Puka, hopefully for something good, because I probably would have said that's a good idea, and now it's looking like a worse idea. For what's looking like a late, you sold him for a single first. I probably would have agreed with that after the first week too. Not after the third week though.
Yeah.
How much am I going to regret it? A little bit. It's okay. It happens. I sold Tyreek Hill after his first season. Yeah, his first season. I still regret that one. He's still good. His route tree seemed a lot further downfield last week, which was my original. Yeah, his ADOT bounced back up this week. His targets also stabilized. I still think top 12 is a hell of an expectation consistently moving forward, especially with Tutu still being good. And I still think Cooper Kupp is the main volume getter on that offense, but he could easily be, he could easily be in that Jalen Waddle tier. He probably should be right now. Yeah. And it's rough. It's hard to change your mind as quick as possible. And I probably haven't in this occasion because I really hate per game arguments in college, but it's time I get over myself.
Well, and it's not, again, it's not the college argument anymore. Like when you see him do it in the pros and do it as prolifically as Nakua has.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah. But I can't know that till about now, this much example.
But this is we talked about that before. Where
I know.
After week 1 or week 2, I said I'd trade him, and if he's good, I will pay the price to go get him back if I want him. Like, that's fine. I'm okay making a bet against that profile because the chances of that profile being as successful as Nakua, like, he was barely a 5th round pick. He was at the beginning of the season, looked like he was buried on a depth chart. Like, it was like everything broke right, and he's been great, and he is good. But with what we had to, I mean, it's kind of like being an archaeologist. Like, you don't know you have a full Tyrannosaurus skeleton when you uncover like that first vertebrae in the tail. But the more you uncover, the more you're like, oh, okay, well now this is something else.
Yeah, and Matt, don't feel too bad about it. I mean, it went wrong. Don't get me wrong, but again, like I say, I would have gone wrong too. Not that should be any consolation. It's not like I'm a genius or nothing. But next time someone's arguing for an athletic profile per game argument from the 5th round, it won't go right, and will be a little hot in your league if they got Puka right. Like, it's worth keeping in mind that like Zach's saying, the reasons you made the decisions you did. It went wrong. It sucks. But learn what you can from it. And what you shouldn't learn from it is you had a solid process here. You even went and looked. You went and looked at his ADOT. You made a decision based on what you thought was most reasonable to continue. Like, you can't know the future. And so I don't think you made a mistake, but it did go wrong. Sometimes, if we could predict the future, life would be boring. Unfortunately, this time, sometimes you get clapped. It's okay. We get to lose sometimes so someone else can lose next time. Also worried, how worried should I be with the running back core of Brian Robinson, maybe?
Yes, got to be.
Najee Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. Pretty worried. I've actually traded for Najee on some competitive best ball teams, but I don't want a piece of that. And Najee, I still think is a very good player. I still think he does get the volume. So in best ball, I'm a little more okay with it on a very competitive team where, I'm just running for points this season. But Stevenson will be okay, but it's going to be in and out. And Herbert was the best guy last week. Brian Robinson is a little bit of a regression candidate, and I don't want anything on Pittsburgh right now, even though I do have Najee and Fairmouth on a lot of rosters. So, yeah, pretty worried. I would, if that's the core of your running back room, it feels like maybe you're running for that value window a little bit. Like, if anyone will trade you seconds or let you use them as throw-ins to get wide receivers or 25 first, yeah, I'll be a little worried about that running back core. I mean, they're fine, don't get me wrong. I think they're fine players, but it's not looking good. They are mid. their points are mid. Come on, Genji. Come on.
I mean, Brian Robinson's doing all right.
Yeah, but it's gonna have a hard time sustaining.
Yes.
Marvin, so trade him immediately. Marvin Cano, what's up, guys? I'm in a 14-man superflex. Stafford or Amari Cooper, Boyd, and a second. Stafford.
Yeah.
Stafford.
Yeah.
I'm hoping the third team owner keeps his word, trades Dobbs for a second. All right. Yeah, that'd be fine. Dobbs has been a remarkably solid starter this year. Like, I'm in one Superflex league where I didn't have a QB2, and he obviously was on the waiver wire after he got the job. I'm actually doing pretty fine with him. You know, it's like, that's nice. But I don't think he has any value going forward. But, yeah, Stafford, especially if your team's in any way competitive. And on a 14-man, probably Stafford anyway. Rico Dow. Okay, I made a trade. Cool. Tell me how bad it is. I will try my best. I'm competing and I traded away Carr and a 24 late first for Nico, Dak, and
Nico. A Carr, a first, and Nico Collins.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I read it wrong. Carr, a first, 24 first. No, you still did great. I like Carr. I still like Dak. A lot more than Carr. I would add a first for Dak anyway, and where you're trying to score points, that's fine. I think Nico is what you gave away to have a starting quarterback here. And Waddell's not going to keep up with Nico this year, but I'd rather you have a quarterback on a competing team. I think that's what wins it. Yeah.
Yep, I think you're right.
Team should score more touchdowns going forward, and hopefully that means good things for Dak too.
It does hurt. It does hurt giving up. Like, it hurts giving up
you've
Collins
lost
on a competing team, but
you've definitely lost there. But it's for a quarterback on a team where you're trying to compete. That's what wins it for you. Well, not wins. It's not. Trade shouldn't be win or lose. And this is just, it's doing what you have to do. And I think, I do it. 0.5, Goddard, Kincaid, or Jonnu Smith. Oh, man. Dynasty, it's Goddard and Kincaid. But week to week, I'd rather start Jonnu Smith right now. So take that for what it's worth. 12 teams start 11. Yeah, still fine. Hope we didn't make that bad of a... I really don't think... Again, like Zach pointed out, and I was trying to say, like, you gave Nico up. But you gave Nico up so you had a quarterback in a super flex where you're competing. I mean, you've got to give all the win-loss trade conversations losers from the fact that you got to help your league mate out as well. They're trying to do things too. And if you can't help them do things, they won't help you do things, either in this trade or in the future. You've helped their team there. They've snuck a Nico Collins for the cost of you having a starting Q. I think that's a perfect trade, especially in season, going in the direction you need to. Might not work out, but I mean, you got to try. And I think that's a solid way of trying. Thanks, guys. I love you both. Well, we love you more, probably. Spontaneous Ego. Okay. 12-team Superflex. Jahan Dotson or Kenny Pickett. And a high, presumably meaning early, 24 second. Jahan Dotson or Kenny Pickett. I'd just get rid of Pickett. I'm fine just trading Pickett. But he is a starting quarterback.
I would say it's probably the quarterback.
It's probably the quarterback, but I don't. If you really like Jahan, I guess. I prefer Terry, but Jahan's fine.
It's gross, but yeah.
Yeah. Subscribed. Appreciate that, Marvin. Genji. Oof. Rico. Oof. Yeah. It's a little. Genji. CJ Stroud and weeks away from leapfrogging Burrow and Lamar. Yeah. Actually, in Dynasty, I think he's of that value now. I think that's how strongly we should move. And this isn't a Sam Darnold or a who's the other fella?
Zach Wilson?
No.
Baker?
No. It's Sam Darnold. And the other guy they elevated to top 5 after his rookie season, basically just because he's a rookie QB, Wentz, who didn't set the field on
Baker
fire.
Did the same thing.
This is not that. Yeah. That's not, it's getting too high on the age. CJ Stroud has been phenomenal. It's not just being okay as a young, good QB with, you could see the upside. He's showing the upside. He has the upside right now weekly. Like that's a different conversation. Like, didn't fall for Wentz or Darnold. In fact, I started writing articles about selling top 5 QBs if they haven't had top 12 seasons. Like, that was my bread and butter that off season. CJ Stroud's a different conversation. Again, I think Russ mentioned last time I said this, that, he's got good upside for a passing quarterback. And yeah, I get it. We've got Hurts and you've got Jahan Dotson and you've got all these running quarterbacks in the top 12 right now. But like that hasn't gone away. Passing quarterback still has that upside, like most of the time.
So this is going to be, and it was going to be the show last week, but I ended up with a migraine on Thursday night. So J Mike and I never get a chance to, but like, I want to do probably tomorrow night a Dynasty Dummies episode about the fact that fantasy football and NFL football are not the same thing.
Yeah.
And that fantasy football running quarterbacks. And I mean, it's the Anthony Richardson thing. And Anthony Richardson, when he's on the field, is going to score as a top 10 quarterback. He will, because he has that rushing ability but for longevity, and I'm not even talking injury, but longevity in terms of an NFL franchise and whether they see you as a viable option to get to a Super Bowl, you're going to have to throw the ball at some point. Because if you end up in a game where you are behind, you have to throw the ball. It's the only way to get ahead. And it's honestly more efficient to throw the ball than it is to run the ball, unless you have a lead or unless you are ahead and not as good as the other team, where you can shorten the time of the game by running and having the clock run. So throwing the ball is still going to be wildly important to quarterbacks. And so we have this idea, and it's just the Trey Lance thing. It is the Anthony Richardson thing. It was the Willis, all of this. It's fantasy football saying running quarterbacks, the Konami code. This is it, but the Konami code is a running quarterback who can throw, or a throwing quarterback who can run. You have to have
that. Got this back and forth love affair with running quarterbacks, because I can't get. No one wants to trade Lamar like he's better than CJ Stroud. I've got Lamar because everyone faded on him because he didn't show the weekly consistency last year. So I've got Lamar on a lot of teams, and he's putting up over 20 points a game, and I can't get 3 firsts for him because he's not the elite QB. Like, it's all hyperbole. There's Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, passing quarterbacks are still immense in fantasy football. And I'm not saying he's up there with Mahomes, don't get me wrong, but he's definitely of that ilk. In that tier with Lamar, below Hurts, below Allen, below Mahomes. But after that, he's got to belong in that tier for me.
Yeah.
But Dynasty QB6 is just, that sounds fine. Fair. You've got the 3, and then you've got a nice smidgen of. We're in a great quarterback era of fantasy right now, and the NFL in general. Despite the fact that Zach Wilson exists and Kenny Pickett exists, relative to other years and other periods as well, NFL is actually rich with quarterbacks, but especially for fantasy. Didn't mean to go on about that. And Rico, this is I actually love your trade. You've got to guard yourself a little bit because, not all league mates play this way, and, to be a good gamesman, you have to be aware of it. But I think that's how Dynasty should work. You're competing. That guy got something off of you so you can keep competing. And then when you're not competing, presumably 1 year, the other side works. A lot of Dynasty theory pushes us into this place where the haves keep having and getting, and the league just stagnates. I think through good, solid, really good ways of playing game theory. But when you are competitive, you're willing to make moves to win, then other teams do get stuff off you for that. And the whole idea is that you develop a league market, in my mind, that happens, because you're not going to be winning every year. It's actually relatively rare. You should be a top 3, top 4, top 5 team if your league's very good, or any kind of good, or just reality. So I like that kind of trade. Yeah, you could easily lose that. But if you keep in that market, you're encouraging that market, And you can't make them do trades with you by saying you did it, by the way. It's not like blackmail material. But hopefully you stimulate an activity or you encourage trading where competitive teams want to make those moves when they are competitive too. So you'll get a little second round pick that probably unstabilizes the trade next time they're competing. So I actually like that kind of trade. Like, I think it leads to a healthy, fun dynasty league where you can make moves to actually do things, depending on what the reality of the season actually turns out to be after all our guesses. Yeah, and injury always sucks, to be fair, especially for the players, but a little bit for us too. To be honest, I've been telling myself I traded Nico on a first for Dak and Wandell. Yeah, but it's fine, honestly. I'm late as usual. So were we.
Hey,
Alan. So you're good. Welcome back. You could got a lot more for Wandell.
No, could have gotten a lot more than just Wandell. And
maybe.
I agree. Like I would have tried to take Wandell and Collins out of it and just say Carr to first to get the quarterback. But
I mean, if you can get better, I guess. But I didn't mind it. That's me. Wandell isn't bad. No, he's not. Well, he hasn't been bad so far. If I'm being honest, I like him in PPR. Daniel Jones just sucks. It's a little sleeperish, Rico. Like, you shouldn't value Wandell like you want him to be worth. But sure, whatever you got to tell yourself, now it's done.
That's it. There's a lot of rationalizing going on with Rico.
And I don't mind Wandell, but yeah. Genji, I can't trade my 201 away. I could have gotten A-Chain for 201 and traded the pick. I'm a clown. True. Very true. Could have traded Puka in the 4th. Why didn't you just trade back to the 4th and just draft Puka Nakua? You would have been fine. Scribbles, thanks, guys, for the insight, as always. No problem. I don't know it's insight, but they're thoughts. You're welcome to them. Might be insight in Zach's part. Rico, no, you're not. It's okay. In my redraft 1 and 3, I could be starting Kyron, A-Chain, Brees, and JT, and doing very well. Well, not with 1 and 3, but that starting lineup would be pretty cool. Carolina is funny because in the offseason they stated they would not spend high dollars on wide receivers and didn't. Created that wide receiver room, and now they're
yeah.
Very good point. Tim Shady, what's A-Chain's ceiling?
Here it is.
John Robinson, but like that week, I don't think that's his ceiling. Actually, I think that's
that's
and away
above the ceiling.
That's way above his ceiling. His ceiling would be like a decent top 12 running back in a PPR league. Not a top 5, not a top 3. Genji, I brought Trey Lance when he was the 201 startup.
Yikes.
I mean, I bought a lot of Bateman even to start after that first week, 4 seconds. So there you go. I will always make a worse move to make you feel better. Don't worry about it. Tim Shady, also the pronunciation. I'm saying it wrong. Sorry, I haven't learned the correct one yet.
Yeah, A-Chan. I'm gonna do a song this week about that.
I do try and do better with that because they're just names on a screen for me, and then you hear them and they're like, "That's not my name." Like, shit, I really should. I should actually use people's names appropriately. Ken Walker, which I do get right most of the time, and a lot of sites don't. But
Kadarius Toenail.
Yeah, well, that one's obvious, but I only misname for funds. I hate doing it by accident, if you know what I mean. I still call him Terrace Marshall. I refuse to.
Terrence.
During the draft process, yep. Well, Levis was a sore spot for a lot of people this year. I'm telling you, just avoid quarterback evaluation. Life gets easier. Cole, hey guys, thanks for doing this. No problem. 12 teams who flex PPR start 9. I'm rebuilding. So should I trade Dubs? Probably. And a 3rd. And a 4th in 26. Wow. And for a very late first. Yes, easily. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah,
so.
you're basically trading Dobbs for a first.
Yeah. Nico is 24.5.
Yeah, Nico's young. Yeah, he came in young. He's in his
mid-ish career. Yeah. I think of mid-career like 25 to 27-ish. I think peak career is 27 to 30, by the way, but mid-value arc tends to be between 25 27.
Mid value arc is between like 21 and 21 and a half. And then there's
that's I meant for me, but no, you're not wrong in Dynasty. That's that's a value window.
Like, man, he's a junior. He's too old. Like, he hasn't come out yet.
Yeah. Basically saw the moon landing. I got lucky. Stroud at 107. Nice. I tell you what, Stroud looked like such a good value, and I did not end up with Stroud in all my rookie drafts. So not like, and I knew, but like it really did seem like a solid value this year. But I also thought the same thing about Quentin Johnson this year, where he's falling behind the other wide receivers, but was still solid. And that isn't working out. So, but yes, there's so many teams with Stroud right now who acquired picks and thought they were building, and now they have this quarterback leading them towards the playoffs. Like, they must be tilting. Sorry, what you said. Stroud and Mahomes for a rebuild. Nice. And now I'm freaking 3-1 due to Stroud, A-Chain, Mims, and Mike Wilson. High points for Max. I hope to lose soon after trading away forward and most of. No, you've done more to help yourself win, I think. Just start sit decisions this game. Very simple and better.
Yeah.
Just accept you're winning this year. Just go get the money, I guess. Oh no. Have to put up with it. Dynasty Daddy says, trust the process. I have 424. Yeah. There's someone like that in the DLF league. They thought they were building, so I have these extra first, but they ended up with Puka and they ended up with Stroud, and suddenly they're top 3 in the league. It's like, that guy's going to be impossible to move for half a decade now. Yeah. Rico, also, what should I do with Kyron? He's not that good. I don't know about that.
Yeah,
but he's producing like crazy. I would keep expecting him to be top 12 this year as long as he's healthy. Like, seriously, top 12 is a low ball. His volume's pretty crazy. Zach, is he that bad? You're squinting a little bit.
Like, no, he's good. So this is
I thought he was pretty good as a rookie. I got the rookie evaluation right because this long after it doesn't matter. But I thought it was pretty decent.
But the reason he dropped was draft capital and the combine, where
I think it was 40 time, right?
Yeah. So I literally had him as running back 4 in that class.
Yeah.
Like it was Hall, Walker, Spiller, Kyron Williams, Brian Robinson. Like, I feel like I did okay there. But like, then when you had the combine and you had the draft, and all of a sudden he was slower than what people thought, not as quick as what people thought, and ended up being drafted later than we expected. That kind of dropped him. But like, to me, those are the profiles that I go try to add to my bench. The guys that I liked that I can stash. I mean, it was like Kyron Williams, Brian Robinson. Like, those are the players that I want to go stash because I thought they were good pre-draft. The NFL said, maybe not. But even if they are, behind starters at some point, if they get a chance, I still think they're talented. So, I mean, it's the Roschon Johnson this year. It's the Kendre Miller. It was the A-Chain. It was Charbonnet. Like, those are the types of players. I mean, even Bigsby. But, like, those are the types of players that I end up rostering because I think that if given the chance, they have a potential profile that is to be a good player.
I had Kyron 10th post-draft. That's a draft thing coming in. Pre-draft,
I
had him 5th.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So, like, to me, the fact that we drop them post-draft doesn't necessarily mean that I don't want to roster them. It means that I don't have to pay what I would have pre-draft to go get them.
And what should you do, Rico? You should just use them. I'm fully convinced on that volume. It's really impressive. You should just trade for more points and keep trying to win with them, to be honest. I mean, if someone offers you a first, maybe we'll have a conversation with it, depending on how your team's looking by then. But right now, just play him. Because I like his points, but he's not good. I actually think I'm not going to evaluate, but I actually don't think he's bad.
Yeah.
Hold if you need points. He's good. Yeah. I need points. I don't think he's good. His usage is good, though. I mean, those two things are actually the same thing to me. But if I was to have a separate definition, I think he's a little bit above I actually think it's pretty good. He had a slow 40. It doesn't matter. At least good enough. Oh, come on,
That's
Genji.
the thing. Yeah.
But
all he needs to be able to do is be on the field and get touches. If he can do that, then we're feeling good about it. If he's not good enough to be on the field or command touches, then you have issues. But he's shown you that he can do both.
Scotchy, Sutton, Sky, and a 24 third or Quentin Johnson. I would take the shot on Quentin Johnson being a later breakout or later performer. To use a different word, I would take Quentin Johnson. I don't mind trading. Sky Moore on a third is nothing to me. Sutton's been okay. He's actually been pretty good this year. But the upside value is all with Quentin Johnson for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's Quentin Johnson, but only because I don't want anything on that other side.
Yeah, pretty much. I guess, he's producing. I don't see them sticking with it. I mean, they literally traded away Cam Akers. What makes you think that suddenly?
But you don't need him after this year. Like, so take him, run it out, and then if you can trade him at the end of the year, fine. Like, trade him for a 25 first, or trade him for a 25. Or put a second and get a first. Like, do that, but like, you don't necessarily.
I mostly only think of running backs in a 1 year window. I mean, sometimes it's worth considering them more than that because so many dynasty players play that way. But like, that's normal. Like, you just, especially if you're competitive. I mean, look at the trade you just did for Dak. You're just focusing this year. No, just don't let it fret you. And wow, Puka really is wide receiver 12. Yeah, he's doing fantastic this year. It was a little sketchy for the first 2 weeks. Third week, it stabilized with a lower ceiling. And this week, his ADAT rose. His targets were still stable. That's it. I'm never discounting third and fourth ever again. You remember, right? Trade I saw accepted yesterday was 12 teams start 9. Puka and Javonte for Pollard and Deontay Johnson. Puka
I'd rather Puka. Yeah.
Yeah. Not
That's
fair.
Wild.
Actually, it's
wild.
Yeah. It's that Pollard's a top 12 running back, as everyone hoped this year, and they're like, I want rid of him. I mean, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm cool with that. It shocks me a little bit. Fair trade, but thought Puka owner could have, at this point, a lot more, probably. Wait, won't Cup return? Yes. James, don't know how long you've been with us, but I got some serious rants about how volume works. But if you're about to say that Cooper Kupp will take Puka's role, I don't think that way. And also, me and Zach have both been big advocates for Waddle and Hill, the two wide receiver combo on the same team. It's actually really common on a year-to-year basis. It's underrated in Dynasty, especially, and in redraft a little bit as well. Again, Chase, Higgins, Devontae Smith, and AJ Brown. Like, it happens to 4 teams every year, and the ones we got right now, the pairings we've got, are all pretty young. Kupp can be great. Puka can continue to be incredibly impressive, even after Kupp gets back, and that's what I would probably expect. I expect Kupp to be better than Puka, just because I refuse to let go of that. But honestly, if his name was Jordan Addison, I'd be like, Addison can beat Kupp. It'll be fine. So, that's where my head's at on the volume. HN is being built future running back. No. Again, running backs are really 1 year propositions. He was a late first round pick who put up 60 points in a single week. Again, he's not going to have 4 touchdowns every week, but I think he can be a top 12 running back. We thought that pre-draft. We thought that post-draft. And he seems to be really, outside of the points and those touchdowns, he's really earning a little gradually. And he's got the majority of that split, and it's improving on a pretty impressive team to roster for this year for points. So he should be pretty valued.
And if you're going to roster a running back in a system, a running back in a Shanahan-type offense is a good – wait, Christian McCaffrey? Oh, Christian McCaffrey in San Francisco, there's no way he'll be able to maintain what he did in Carolina, except for he's better. Like, and the same thing with but this is it's a really fun offense. But James, I think to your overarching point, are we just losing our minds because you can tell if you're competing this season or not 4 games in? I do think you can tell if you're competing or not 4 games in, and I also think you and I have both done this. after week 3, James, we know more than we think we do about the way the season is going to go. Because at that point, you're over a 50-50 proposition of knowing who the top 12 are at running back and at wide receiver. So you know more than you think you do. And first round picks are about a 50-50 proposition. So if you are competitive and you're looking at week 4, looking at the top 12, making bets on those are like that's a really good bet. And if you want one of my last tweets, if you go search at Tacit Assassin 13 and week 4, or go look up, I just retweeted it, but I started off with the time zones fascinated me as a kid. Like there's a whole thread that I did last year, but it's still just as topical now after week 3, saying we know more about what's going to happen than we think we do. And usually that's not that I wouldn't say that about Dynasty. Usually it's overconfidence. Usually it's arrogance. Usually we claim to know more than we actually know. But in this instance, looking at like past history, past trends, we know more at this point, and it makes it a better bet. It's a better than 50-50 proposition that the top 12, the players there, over half of them will maintain top 12 for the rest of the season.
It's actually over 60% quarterback and tight end.
Yeah,
just to throw that
out. Even better. I didn't even do that.
Here's a way to fact check yourself or place yourself in reality, James. Jahmyr Gibbs right now has about a similar usage trend on a season with a slightly better target share as Devin Achane. I think some people are disappointed with Gibbs. I'm not. That's about what we expected. He's more of a target share guy than a rushing share guy, and David Montgomery's pretty good. Devin Achane doesn't have a David Montgomery. He's got a Raheem Mostert, who's fine. He's pretty good, but he's not David Montgomery. He's also got slightly less target share. Both of them, I think, can finish and be top 12 running backs in this league. One's got a lot of touchdowns, but I have similar expectations for both moving forward. So that's a way to ground myself in reality. Devin Achane's been doing too much with too little, but I really think both have top 12 upside just based on their usage and their player profiles in general. Again, Gibbs had a lot more draft capital, a lot more expectation, so the markets are doing different things, but Achane's probably still behind Gibbs, right? And so I probably have them pretty close to each other, and you have to rise or drop one or the other to get there. But equalize their expectations, and you're probably pretty good. But yeah, he's not. Again, like we said at the start, he doesn't have Bijan Robinson or JT or CMC, definitely, expectations. The Achane and Gibbs expectation up there is like Alvin Kamara, and it's like it's a really rare outcome to hit, so we're not expecting that. But anywhere between where they're at and that outcome is pretty nice, so we like them. And where running backs, especially for the way I play Dynasty, are mostly a one-year proposition, I'm pretty happy that the points have rolled in on touchdowns. That's helped out a little bit, but it's not obviously sustainable. You are competing this season or not? 4 games in. Yeah, pretty much. And not because, like, everything Zach just said, but one point I wanted to add to it. We do have to move as quick as we can just because it's too late by the time you know. The time you're really sure, it's too late because, again, everyone's pretty well informed. I think all my league mates know just as much as me and are making decisions about as aggressively. They're definitely not stupider than me. And so it would be foolish on my part, I think, to not try to move as quick as possible to try and help them win or help me win and help them build, try and take advantage as much of that potential window as possible. The reason I tend to lean build is because I think 70% of teams shouldn't consider themselves in the very top or the very bottom. And so we should always have an eye on value. But if you're going to start moving now, knowing that we're a little more certain than most people think, but also, yes, you're right, we don't know for sure, moving to build is the highest floor proposition because you might give up an opportunity to trade for all these points and you really can turn a team around in 3 weeks. Cooper Kupp comes back. and you pick up someone good off the waiver wire. You make trade after trade. You end up with a decent running back stable. You really can't. I've seen people win after an 0-4 start. You can be aggressive and you can win that way, but you can also go that way and lose. Whereas if you just side with build a little more often, at least your team's improving. And there's still some expectation that you could at least be competitive moving forward. But you don't go all in on one or the other unless it's very, very, very freaking obvious. Like, again, in some of my leagues, there's no chance of competing. Then you should lean build. But you should try and make decisions as early as possible and start moving in a direction, because you're maximizing the potential window for you to help teams out who are trying to compete. So they give you value, you give them points, and it's beneficial to both. And then you can actually start improving your team in one direction or the other, depending on how your team's looking. And if it reverses, like we get to week 8, turns out that 4-0 start wasn't true, then you have to start backpedaling, which is also why you should lean value a little more often in Dynasty because of that downside. Just curious. And no, it's a very good question. It's one we spend a lot of time thinking and talking about, because, again, when and how to make decisions is pretty much the game. So we definitely don't mind talking about it. How's Sam Howell looking in the projections this week? Come on, man. Just go look. Why make me look it up? I do have week 5 in here. I updated. Quarterback 14 this week. There you go. Fantasy Condo. Hey, gentlemen. 10 teams with flex half-point PPR. Start 12. Completed a trade. Moved Mac Jones and a 25 third. All these thirds rolling around. This is what Puka's doing for Dynasty. He's making people value thirds. Jaleel Woods. Keaton Mitchell. He's coming back, I think. So it's somewhat interesting. And a 25 second. Mac Jones.
I would not have traded Jones for that in the Superflex.
I think I'd still keep Mac for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still have Allen, Richardson, and Goff. I get it. You've got a Mac Jones to move, and you got what you could get, but I don't think you got a second, basically.
Yeah.
Maybe Keaton Mitchell has some running backs on your. Not really.
Maybe. Like, he's the flavor of the week this week, but I've seen a lot of weeks, and the flavors don't always.
The flavors change.
Yeah.
Sometimes, earwax and stuff. Yeah, I think Mac Jones is worth more, but if it's the best you could get, it's not like you're starting him, I guess. I feel like Anthony Richardson was targeting his tight ends a lot, and Woods profiles as the best athlete on the team at the tight end position. Yeah, but he's all combine, no catch. He hasn't displayed either in college or the NFL ability to earn targets on his routes and do stuff with them when he gets it. I mean, I'd be happy to see it, but he looked like an athletic profile at the combine, and just an athletic profile. I'd like to see some receiving ability in college as well as just a.
He's currently in terms of production behind Kylan Granson and Andrew Ogletree on Indy's depth chart in terms of tight end production. Not that that's a thing, but
I'm not going to blame you for getting one of you. I like trading for guys that I notice that I think could do something. I don't get it wrong. And honestly, you're moving Mac to a team that probably needs a quarterback for a little or nothing, but it helps the market move, so it's fine. But Mac's probably worth a lot more than that. You hear that, Genji? I'm not bad at fantasy. We're all bad. That's the secret. We're actually all really bad at this. And, we're just trying to do our best. He said you lost, but only one. Yeah, it's not. I don't think trades are win and lose. I think if you're moving, I think they're fair or unfair. Maybe that's a better way of looking at it. I think based on your goals. Again, you gave up a Nico Collins to do something for a competitive roster. It makes sense. I need a QB, and my other QB is Purdy. That's it. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Just to have Purdy. Purdy's fine. 0-4 teams in Dynasty. Do you sell the house or hold? Depends on how the roster looks, honestly. And what's my all play look like? Am I winning but not winning, if you know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. Like I've got a couple teams where I've been either the second or third highest score in the league in the week and lost.
But lost every week.
Yeah. So Or
you could be on a team where you were close and you have Alvin Kamara just got back and hopefully Cooper Kupp's coming back, and you can make some decisions.
But also be honest with yourself. If you have some good players, but your team's not competitive, like let's make some moves and
yeah. And the whole point of Dynasty is that you're here for next year too. I mean, for me, sell the house, James. It's a good default. Burn it down. Yeah.
We tried that? No, maybe. Sorry.
Don't tempt me. I don't even want to trade CJ for Hurts. I'm too emotionally invested. I'm not sure I'm posting in the right place. Looks like you are, Scotchy. I'm competing. Burrow and Stroud for Mahomes. Ooh, I hate trading Mahomes. Are you trading? Well, you might be
trading for Mahomes. But trading Burrow and Stroud to get Mahomes.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot.
The trade's probably fair, but
I mean
that's like about how you want to build your roster, right?
Yeah,
more than anything.
Mahomes with Lamar Jackson as your QB2. Like I'd like that. It's a lot to give up for Mahomes, but the Mahomes trade is going to hurt.
I do tend to build elite QB, so Mahomes and L-Jax is where I would side. But it's very easy to see Burrow and Stroud could be a better team if you angle the roster that way. I think it's just team construction, which way you want to go. I like it personally, but I don't think it's an outright definite. Stroud is a better passer than Hurts.
Hurts is pretty good. I mean, not that Stroud isn't, but like.
Facts. Probably. There's probably some facts around here. I disagree, but I love the CJ love. Yeah, he's been fantastic. Dak is boo-boo. He's been that team needs to score touchdowns soon.
Well, they're scoring defensive touchdowns.
That's the problem. They need to slow their defense down. The defense isn't helping the offense out. Tried contending this year and have a decent team, but I have started 1-3. So I went out and traded Tyreek Hill for Tank Dell on my 20. Oh, that's not enough for Tyreek Hill. He's old. Is it? That seems too weak.
That doesn't seem not enough for Tyreek Hill.
Okay, just check. I tried to insulate I was wondering if he's about to fall off a value cliff, but yeah. I tried to insulate myself in case I keep losing. And that's fair. Lean build, just like Tyreek Hill was worth more than that to start the season, and he's had some amazing games this year. I like getting Tank Dell on the first, don't get me wrong, but it's short like one first, and that's pretty significant in Dynasty.
And it also feels like you kind of ensured that you will keep losing by trading Tyreek Hill, who is
so hopefully you have your first.
Well, that's what he traded for his own first.
Well, that's probably a little extra boost in the trade.
It was a Russ move.
Well, in that case, you can ensure that first is worth more than a random first by continuing to make. Yeah, okay, that kind of balances it out a little bit. But James Tucker, I think QB play over the last 2 years has thrown off Dynasty Superflex, and the fact that QBs have been so rough in general. I think they've been great. Am I insane? Everyone hates QBs, and I'm like, this is best it's ever been. Anyway, that the real play was 0 QB and hero QBs unless you have 2 elites. I mean, maybe I didn't feel like I tend to build elite QB, so maybe I just missed it. But like, I can't remember like having 8. I mean, there's 3, and then there's like 8 quarterbacks that I love having in Dynasty Superflex. And it used to be like 3 max, and everyone else was, get the old guy. How much is Tom Brady this year? Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers. Anyone want to trade a second for him? And now it's like CJ Stroud is like worth multiple firsts, or I don't know. I think it's pretty rich here.
There are 10 quarterbacks right now averaging 20 points per game or more in fantasy. Like
maybe 10. It's because the separation isn't so great in the top 12. Like it used to be Peyton Manning, and then everyone else was scoring 3 or 4 points behind that, and then 3 or 4 points. So maybe that's what it is. It's not that they're not scoring well, it's that too many are scoring well. The lack of positional edge, maybe. Jordan 99, what do you guys do when the rest of your league is very off on dynasty value and overvalues everything, and they have both picks and players? I've been in this situation, but you seriously got to ask yourself, have they got all of it if they're really off on their valuation? At some point, you may have been off in your evaluation, right? I mean, I've contributed to that in some of my own leagues, and I have to realize that I've probably got a few things wrong in the trades that I made. I didn't overvalue them when they were overvaluing them, and now they got all of them. There's not much I can do about it.
You figure out what is being undervalued and attack that.
Yeah. I mean, just logically, if they're overvaluing X, Y, and B, then hopefully A, B, and C, they don't value. Older players, injured players, probably have to play for that. The A train. Okay. Higgins and Miles Sanders or Garrett Wilson? Garrett Wilson, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think Miles Sanders makes up the difference between Higgins and Wilson.
I'm just relying on Wilson, honestly, his age a little bit and some hype windows when he does well, when a quarterback comes in when next year's around.
He's so good.
But if you're talking this year, Higgins and Sanders, please. And I don't have the backbone to have whether Wilson is great that Zach has in his corner. Like, he knows he's good. I know.
He is so good.
Kyron, the new Eckler. I actually prefer Eckler, but yeah, sure, you can frame it that way if that helps you. Yeah, I don't mind it.
Eckler's a little bit quicker than Kyron, though. Yeah. I mean, like
calf muscles, though. I mean, you'd have to be quicker. Austin Eckler's calf muscles have always impressed me.
I have my favorite all-time GIF. I have a GIF of Eckler doing one-arm pull-ups while reading a book. It's just amazing. It's like, this is my favorite. It's my favorite thing ever.
Pretty cool. Is Jameson Williams going to be the best ball roster clogger? Yeah.
Jameson Williams. This is John. This is the time. I've seen hype on Jameson Williams. I've seen Amon-Ra St. Brown come out and talk about him in practice. I've seen analysts already start to talk about him on Twitter. This is the time. We're poised. We're ready to sell him.
Those trade offers are just waiting to come in as soon as this hype builds a little bit.
That's it. That's what you send them out. You don't even wait for them to come in.
Oh, you send them out. Oh, okay. Genji, same thing. And if he wasn't good, he wouldn't be 26 points per game. Yeah, good for me is volume. I think that's the fairest definition. I saw a tweet the other day. Not that anyone cares about this, and we really have to move on. So I probably shouldn't bring it. They're complaining about training fantasy models on points per game as if that was an equivalent to talent. And it was an interesting point, but I disagree with it fundamentally because we're not chasing talent. We're chasing points.
Yes.
Like it was too in the headspace of I'm a coach and I'm a scout and I know what talent is. I'm like, I don't fucking care. I just, pardon me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. I get really
and
like,
look,
stop it, man. We're just playing fantasy football. Like, leave that professional.
Oftentimes the points follow the talent, but it's not necessarily
And also, I actually started out from a very foundational disagreement on you have to train models on something unless using K clustering, in which case, talk to Matt Spencer. I don't understand it. But there's almost nothing you can train. Like if you were to sort players by points per game does better. That's why points per game has some of the best. Like use another stat if you want, but you're still going to be using a corollary for what you are calling talent. But anyway, sorry, this is an aside. I shouldn't talk about it. Yeah, me too. Don't sleep on Pop Douglas.
That's DeMario Douglas, who's fine, but he's tied to Mac Jones and a Patriots offense that is garbage, and he's really a kick returner / slot guy. He's fine. Like I got him on a couple rosters.
I don't know. I was told by a guy last week that Mac Jones is really good. It was Mac Jones, but you know, he thinks a lot of himself. Holy crap. I'm on Ross St. Brown in week 3 on keep trade cut. Wide receiver 3. Wide receiver 3 in my dynasty rankings. But keep trade cut, impressive, whatever. Obviously sell immediately. No, it's only just catching up to me. I'm not. I'm on Ross St. Brown is really good. I sold Lamb when he was wide receiver 3. I actually don't mind the whole idea of players in the middle of a rise, especially at that top tier. You can trade for other top tier players and get a plus. Solid move. But I still prefer Amon-Ra St. Brown to CeeDee Lamb, if that helps. But yeah, if there's a window, let's use it. Got Stroud and a 24 first and Stafford. Stroud and a 24 first and Stafford. What did I miss here? Oh,
for CeeDee Lamb.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, that worked out really well. I assume that was the one I said. I offered Waddle and a third for Puka and no reply. Yeah, that'd be a tough sell right now. That's basically just giving them a third for a lower scoring player in the same tier this year.
I want Waddle.
Yeah, I still want Waddle. I can't change on a dime. I'm trying, but I still want Waddle. I'm just pot committed. I'm 1-3 redraft going into week 5 with Howe, Karen, Brees, Chase, Waddle, Hopkins, Laporta, A-Chain, JT. Laporta this year is such a win. JT, is my league in trouble? Your league is? Yeah, it's in trouble. It should maybe start.
The Howl is not a hammer, but he's fine.
There's a bag of hammers and a howl. You know?
Howl to the moon, yeah. He's still the best quarterback in that class, though.
What do you guys think about Kyle Pitts long term? We are having the same conversation about Kyle Pitts till he leaves the league, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we have continued to just play the value in terms of overall on Pitts. Good as a first-round pick in a rookie draft because you could sell him for freaking Justin Jefferson the minute you did at that valuation. And ever since then, we've just been low when they're high, high when they're low. I think the player is good. He's pretty good. He plays like he has a wide receiver role on that offense, and being a wide receiver on that offense is not a good thing. Long term, I think he's pretty good. You just got to get the whole. He's the new Travis Kelce for the next 10 years out your head. I think he could have Jimmy Graham upside, but it certainly is until that team sees some serious changes. You need a freaking. Well, you don't need, but it would be nice to have something like Drew Brees to help Jimmy Graham, the new Jimmy Graham, out. You know,
so many people said so many hurtful things when I said Evan Ingram, Noah Fant, Eric Ebron.
The Evan Ingram value arc. That's where we're at. I mean, you know, we'll just wait until he goes to Jacksonville and gets Trevor Lawrence, and then we'll be fine. Yeah. Sam Howell's looking. How's Sam looking in Dynasty? Pretty good. Look, we're never going to have an insight into where our coaching staff is. We can guess if the team's going to try another draft pick, although it doesn't have any left. I think he's probably got the job. He's doing enough to have the job. How's he looking? I don't know. I haven't checked what's his rank or anything. I do that stuff in Dynasty. QB Dynasty QB rankings.
He's QB 32 as of May.
Oh yeah, DLF's got a new look, and
why do I have May? Do we have October?
I don't know why you're looking at May.
I don't either.
I'm looking at the Dynasty QB rankings right now. How is QB 27 consensus rankings? But let's check the Superflex rankings. That's where all the real rankers live, you know. None of those degenerate one QBs. It's probably
QB 23.
QB 27. I've gone QB 27 and Superflex. Anyway.
And 23 in ADP.
Not great. Not great, Bob.
Yeah, whatever.
But I think the play is fine. Philip J. Fry contending. Give a 25-second, 24-second for Howe. 12-team Superflex. Yeah, it's a quarterback in a Superflex. 2 seconds is probably fine. Yeah. It's fine. 6 points per touchdown. Watson, Stafford, Kyle. Just in case Watson continues to not play. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Yeah. I think Watson's going to be playing again, but one of the most underrated channels concerning Dynasty, fantasy, and Dynasty football. Thank you, the Heads. I'm assuming you're talking about us.
Appreciate you.
12 team non-PPR team with AJ Brown is 1-3 and wants his first back from me. What would you add to get Brown? No, if he wants his first, and it's a bottom 3 first, and not much actually, but it's probably due another. It doesn't matter. They have Devontae Smith. I still want AJ Brown.
Yeah.
I can trade Brown and a third for Lamb and a second. Okay. We're getting into it here. What do you think? Like a bottom 3 first for, and AJ Brown, what's the difference?
Probably another
first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd throw your first in, maybe. If you're, again, getting AJ Brown, you don't have to be the most competitive because you got AJ Brown. But, like, I still want chances this season before I'm trading 2 firsts, especially one that's probably going to be pretty low. Just, fact check it. So we're assuming Stroud will continue at, not necessarily at this pace.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe Burrow isn't continuing at his pace right now. There are going to be ups, there are going to be downs. But to be this impressive this early, solidly, not based on touchdowns, fully through his own abilities and what he's doing in games, that's highly impressive. That's the elite QB pace. Some struggle to get started, but once they get started, they show this. That he's done it early doesn't make him better, but it does mean we know a little earlier, and so we can react a little stronger than we would have when, Sam Darnold showed a few good games, or Carson Wentz showed a few good games, or Jordan Love showed a few good games to start the season, but was heavily based on touchdowns. That's kind of the difference. Yeah. I have Howell because of Burrow stinker. Yeah. Burrow's worth sitting right now. Howell is my only QB in Superflex. I'm the last 4-0 team, tied somewhat tank. Well, you failed, but that's okay. You failed in a good way. Guys, CJ Stroud has surprised Burrow.
Surpassed.
I mean, individual ranks at a certain... I'm more interested in the tier at a certain point.
Keep trade cut is wild, though, because
so
keep trade
especially
cut,
at quarterbacks, actually. I've noticed that.
It is like, if we think the dynasty landscape in general is really quick to like run things out, keep trade cut is like pew, 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 pew. Yeah, it's like, oh man, I can't even. It's like
overreact Monday.
Yeah, it's like you're sitting in Wall, like at Wall Street, like watching the stock exchange and watching people like go and sell. It's it's wild.
But people who weren't betting their own money as well. Keep trade cut, you're just betting other people's money. You're the best on DLF. I think we are. Well, I think they got a lot of good competition, though. I really appreciate you, Scotchy. Thanks very much.
I'm just the guy on the couch. I'm not even DLF, man. I'm just
check out the Dynasty Dummies, by the way, which is Zach's actual show. Party hat, other emojis I don't recognize because I'm very old and boring. And Jazz also, yeah. And to be clear, I want Burrow if he comes with any kind of a plus over CJ Stroud. But I think CJ Stroud should be held in that. If my league mates aren't holding him in that tier, then I'll trade for CJ Stroud. If he is, I'm good. All right, I get it. We're all clever. Got it. Purdy's QB 11. Love QB 12. Sell love like real hard. But Purdy's probably shouldn't be up there, but he's okay. Yeah, it's not bad. Stroud went 109. My one QB. That's actually too high. But it's paying off, and so they're going to be trading quarterbacks at the end of the first for the next couple of years, I'd imagine. Yeah. It surprised me considering he's picked him over. Wow, someone correctly likes CJ Stroud a lot. They're feeling pretty good about themselves. And honestly, I feel good for them. That's a hot take. Keep trade cut. What do you think of Purdy? Has he been? That was one of the things we're interested in.
He's fine. He's like a 15.
It's like Jimmy Garoppolo.
Guy. Yeah, he's like a 15 or 16 guy. He's fine.
Yeah. All right.
He's not bad. He's exactly what they need in San Francisco because they got a whole bunch of guys who are run after the catch.
Tell you what, here's the thing I never have an opinion on because I think it's just hyperbole. But you're like a watcher and an NFL fan. Can you win a Super Bowl with a Sam Howell?
With a Sam Howell?
I mean, I seem to remember.
I think you can. I think you're not.
Didn't Nick Foles win a Super Bowl?
He did. Well, kind of. He kind of got.
He didn't get them there.
But the Howell thing is a little bit like the Garoppolo thing, where talent wise, yes, but he also has a tendency to like have 2 or 3 throws a game where you're just like, oh no, don't do that, and he throws into he throws into traffic and in because the NFL playoffs, it's a one game, and if you lose, you're done. Having a pick and being behind, like all of a sudden you're done. So like you can win a Super Bowl with him, but like it's not likely. I think he's fine.
I think I'll go with maybe not, but you can with Christian McCaffrey. That's my I just want to be all in. I think Christian McCaffrey can win a Super Bowl. I wouldn't start JT this week. I'm gonna wait to see what happens because I have no idea. It's not even an injury, no idea. There are personalities involved at this point, so I'm gonna have to wait to see.
Here's the thing, though: the personalities involved in this are not, at least to my knowledge, the coach. And it's not even the GM, it's the owner. And so if he is active, I'd probably
that's what I mean though. Like if the coach is just coach and the player just plays and it's all about the off-field thing, then we'll start starting him. But this week I'm like, unless you've got like you're starting Rico Dowdle, it's actually a fine desperation start. I'm doing it some places. Then sure, why not go for the upside? I guess.
But think about what you're doing though. Like obviously you haven't been starting him.
Yeah.
So he's going to be your last flex play. If I can throw Jonathan Taylor in as my last flex play,
that kind of idea, I'd be like, okay, I mean, he's better than the other last flex play I'm using. Josh Reynolds. Whatever, and then I'll probably start JT. But just your active lineup, like your
Peter. Here's the question, and this one is for you because it's a question between Jonathan Taylor or Josh Downs. That's a start.
You just like to see me try and spell because I can't do it. Frick. Jonathan Taylor in projections. He is ranked as a running back 17 this week. Josh Downs as a wide receiver 46. Not a single projector puts Downs above Jonathan Taylor to finish above him on a overall scoring level. So it's Jonathan Taylor. Wow. Okay, there you go. I take it back. My own projections just pwned me. He is due a touchdown and some respect, damn it. but yeah, it's probably Jonathan Taylor. I smell it in the air. Oh, well, you've obviously got to start Josh Downs. But if Jonathan Taylor scores this week, I'll be like, my projection's set. Well, not. And they're my projections, but they're a mashup of other people's projections and ranks, which I use to create. Blah 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 blah. Gets me out of the responsibility. But on consensus, Jonathan Taylor is the suggested start. I've been starting Josh Downs pretty consistently as a flex player in a lot of places. I don't know I'd move it, but yeah, probably.
Hey Pete, we made it.
Yes, sir.
We made it to the end.
No more.
Look over there.